Well, I want to thank from the bottom of my heart all the people who work with our community food pantry in Southwick. I want to thank you for caring. I want to thank you for making a difference in the fight to end hunger. I want to thank you for lifting up people who need a helping hand during a difficult time. It is so important, and if everybody were like those of you in Southwick who support our community food pantry, this world would be a better place, and certainly our country would be hunger-free. Over the years, I've seen too many people who are living in poverty and who are hungry. And in this job as a United States Congressman, I have access to a lot more, many more venues than I normally would if I wasn't in this job. But I've seen some really poor people. I've seen children who are hungry, and if you've ever seen a child who is hungry, it breaks your heart. We're the United States of America. We're the richest, most powerful country in the world. Food ought to be a right for people. Nutritious food ought to be a right for people. And the fact that we have 50 million people in this country who are hungry, 17 million who are kids, I think should make us all ashamed. I mean, and what I appreciate about the volunteers at places like the Art Community Food Pantry is that I think people understand what it means to be part of a community. It means we care about our brothers and sisters. I mean, if the next door neighbor is having a tough time, we go and we help them out. That's what neighbors and communities do. And we in this country need to behave more like a community. And I think hunger is a political condition, because I think we have all the food, we have the infrastructure, the know-how, we have everything to end it, but the political will. And we need to create the political will at the local, state, and federal level to support the work that you're doing and others all across the country, and come up with a plan to end hunger, and that means ending poverty. I meet with. And I learn a lot from people who I meet with in food pantries and food banks all across the country. I've visited countless food banks and food pantries. And I like to listen to their stories, because they're all different, and they don't fit into this stereotype that sometimes you hear about in Washington. Life is complicated. People have different experiences. Sometimes people have great highs in their lives, and then they fall on difficult times, and they need some temporary help. Sometimes people need help longer than others, and there are all kinds of reasons. So I don't know, I don't have all the answers, but my philosophy has been do what works. And if you can get people who need food, the food that they need, that works, that helps, keep on doing it. I've been calling on President Obama now for 5 years to host a White House conference on food and nutrition, basically to bring everybody together. People, like those at our community food pantry, food banks all across the country, philanthropic organizations, financial institutions, every level of government, local, state, federal. Let's figure out how we can connect the dots better, how we can make sure that people have what they need when they fall in difficult times, but also help people transition, into better times, extend ladders of opportunity so that people can succeed. The way our government works right now, it's a little bit disjointed. So even our anti-hunger programs don't all fall under USDA. They fall under various agencies and departments. And there's this kind of silo mentality sometimes. Oh no, I'll do my thing and you do your thing. And even in terms of federal, state, and local programs, they're not all coordinated. And even among some food banks and food pantries, you got sometimes people duplicating and triplicating efforts, when if they were better coordinated, they could reach more people. But I have this kind of very simple belief that the first step to ending hunger and ending poverty in this country is to have a plan. We all have ideas. We need one plan that we can measure the success. We have benchmarks in that plan, and if you do your part, I'm going to say thank you very much and praise you. If I don't do my part, then I'm not on the team anymore. I'm done. But we only want people who are going to do what they're supposed to do. But you need a plan. You need a comprehensive plan And we don't have that in this country. We have lots of programs, and a lot of good programs, but they're not as coordinated as they should be. And so I'm urging, that the White House take some leadership on this, because I think the White House has the bully pulpit, and they, better than any of us, can bring everybody in the same room together, lock the door and say, you're not leaving until we have this plan. And my vision would be that the White House would do something like this. It will give us at least a year in advance, and then we would do maybe mini summits, and maybe here in Massachusetts, and Florida, and in California, and in Texas, and in South Dakota, wherever, and again, learn about the success stories. Maybe you're doing something in California, but we could do here in Massachusetts that would work. Maybe we're doing something in Massachusetts that could work in South Dakota. Let's kind of put everything together and do this. We're living in a time when I worry that we all think really small. Oh, that's too big of a problem. Well, we're never going to be able to solve. Oh, hunger's been around since the beginning of time. We need to think big. We have big problems. We need to have big ideas or big solutions. We need to solve them, not, declare that they're unsolvable. I mean, this is solvable. And so I think what we need to do is get everybody who plays a role in this effort to come together and to help develop a comprehensive plan that we can implement. And if we do that, you know what? We're going to end hunger, and we're going to be well on our way to ending poverty.
Is there anything that we can do as citizens to try to make sure to try to get that summit started?
Right. I think there are lots of things that you as citizens can do. One is, I think you need to make sure that all your local, and state and federal officials know what you're doing. Know the experiences that you have had as volunteers at the food pantry. Bring some of the clients to meet with the elected officials so they can tell their stories. We had this debate on SNAP, which is what they call food stamps now, in Washington, and when you listen to the debate, it became very clear that a lot of these members of Congress who were talking about this program had no idea who's on the program. I heard time and time again, all these people who go to food banks and who are on SNAP, they ought to get a job. Well, millions and millions and millions and millions of people who work full time are on SNAP, but they earn so little that they're still in poverty. I mean, don't you think that if they had the chance for a job that would pay better, they'd want that job? And beyond that, the majority of people on SNAP are elderly people who can't work anymore, and children. I mean, you're not going to put a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old to work. Mm-hmm. I mean, but I think we've allowed some of these stereotypes to and these myths to become viewed as fact when they're not. And I think citizens and people who utilize food pantries and food banks and who are on SNAP, they need to teach their elected officials. I tell people all the time, intelligence is not a prerequisite for serving in Congress, okay? And even though we like to say we know everything, we don't. And we all have different backgrounds and different experiences. I've led a fairly good life. I've never in my life growing up or even now had to worry about whether I can put food on the table. I've never lived in poverty. My views and my passion on this issue are informed by the people I've met along the way, and I think we as a country can do better. And I think the more the citizens speak up and say that this is an important issue, and I want you to learn, member of Congress or member of the state legislature or selectman or city councilor or mayor or town manager, I want you to learn about what's happening in your own community. The more there's awareness, I think the more we can bring people along on this thing. So citizens have a very, very important role to play. I would remind everybody that people like me work for you, not the other way around. Whether I'm a mayor or a city councilor or a board of selectmen or state rep, state senator, member of Congress, United States Senate, we all work for you. And sometimes you get politicians who don't want you to think that, so that you don't, they want you to think that you all work for them. But the reality is it's the other way around. You have power to unelect people. You have power to let other people in the community know whether or not your representative is doing what he or she should be doing or not, or whether they're being responsive. So people should not hesitate 1 second in calling up their elected officials and saying, I want to sit down and meet with you. And don't ever take no for an answer. You know, and go to your elected officials with an ask. And the ask may be, help us, raise more funds for the local food pantry. Support SNAP. Don't cut nutrition programs. Don't cut Meals on Wheels. Don't cut WIC. Whatever it may be, and ask for an answer. And you are owed an answer. If they're not going to be with you, you ought to know that. I always tell people, don't be a cheap date. Don't leave without an answer. You're entitled to that. You're entitled to that. And let me tell you something. If 10 or 20 people show up at an office, that's a mini movement. That's 10 or 20 people who have spouses and kids and families and relatives and friends. That's, but I think elected officials have to respond to that. I believe we need to demand more of our government. And this is not a partisan issue. One of my heroes, I'm not related to him, although I worked for him when I was in college, is George McGovern, whose picture is behind me here. He worked on all these nutrition and anti-hunger programs with Senator Bob Dole in the 1970s. They came together, two polar opposites, a liberal Democrat and a conservative Republican came together, and they strengthened the anti-hunger safety net in this country. And in fact, in the 1970s, we almost ended hunger in America. We came very close. And now we have 50 million people who are hungry. So this, the best of this movement was bipartisan. And I know these are tough budgetary times. And I know everybody's looking to save money, but I'll just say one other thing here. Hunger costs an awful lot of money. And so if you're not moved by the moral argument of making sure that your brothers or sisters have enough to eat, and all you're moved by is the bottom line, remember this, hungry children can't learn in school. Senior citizens who take their medication on an empty stomach because they don't have the food end up in a hospital. Children go to emergency rooms all throughout this state, all throughout the country, who have not been eating, whose immune systems are compromised, who get something like a common cold that turns into something major and they're hospitalized for a week. All of these are costs. Workers who do not eat, are less productive in the workplace. I go on and on and on, but there's almost an unquantifiable, huge cost that we are all paying right now because we haven't solved this problem. And I guess I'd say in conclusion that what's maddening to me about this issue is that it is solvable. I wish I could tell you how we could, end all wars and violence in the world. I get some ideas, but probably not going to happen in my lifetime. And and I don't know if it's the right, I have to write all the right solutions. This is something I absolutely know, without a doubt, no hesitation, that we can solve. And so the goal here, and I say this with love and respect for all those who work for the Our Community Food Pantry, is that we want to put you out of business, at some point, so that you can go on to work on another cause. And we want you to be able to have, succeeded, and to say, look, we did this. Maybe we'll take on world peace after this. Just keep on going. But I want this problem solved, and so I'm dogged about this. Every week I stand up on the floor of the House of Representatives, and I give a speech every week on hunger, every single week. So my colleagues, if you say things enough times, maybe it sinks in. I want them to be more sensitive, so they don't slash programs that benefit the most needy. And I'm trying to also communicate to the White House, we need your leadership here. We need you to, I love what the First Lady's doing, but one of the problems that contributes to obesity is poverty and hunger, believe it or not. People who don't have access to any good and nutritious foods. So, even with her effort, get on this, and so I'm hopeful in a very short time, the president will say to me, you know, Jim, you're absolutely right. Let's solve this problem, you know, and you know, and if we do, we're going to be coming back to you, and people like you, people who work at our community food pantry, asking for your help and guidance. Tell us what you have learned. Tell us what works. Tell us what doesn't work. Tell us what's helpful. Tell us what's not helpful. All those things are stuff that I need to, you know, that we will need. So I thank you for doing this. I thank all the volunteers, and my, you know, and I wish all the clients the best.